I'm Victoria Cooksey, and today we're going to be making chocolate cake. And this chocolate cake just happens to be egg-free and dairy-free. And if you need to make it vegan, you can do that by using organic sugar and making sure the dark chocolate you put in it is also made with organic sugar. So easy. And let me just tell you, it's very tasty. And if you happen to see 2 months ago my video on how to make chocolate avocado frosting, and if you wondered what cake I put it on, this was the cake. So today we're making the cake. All right, in this bowl here, I've got all-purpose flour, I've got baking soda, baking powder, salt, and cacao powder. Now, when it comes to the cacao powder, I happen to be using Maru cacao powder today, but you can use whichever kind you want that's either marked natural, it might be marked raw. Usually craft chocolate makers tend to use the natural cocoa powder. And the difference is some cocoa powders are Dutch processed and they'll say like Dutched or alkalized or things like that on it. You don't want that one. You want to go with one that's a natural one. So that's what I've got in there. And all measurements for this recipe will be in the comments area below. All right, now we're gonna add in some sugar. This is organic sugar. Now, I am a graduate of Ruby, where I did the Essential Vegan Dessert course, which is a 3-month course. And in there, my teacher would be telling me I need to pulverize this in a food processor because it is kind of a bigger crystal structure if you use the organic. But sometimes I'm lazy and I don't do that, so I'll leave that one up to you. I'm going to dump that in there, and you're going to whisk all of that dry ingredients together. Now, for the wet works. In here, I have 2 ounces of 70% dark chocolate, and I'm happen to be using Theo's chocolate today because I tend to have that on hand a lot. It's easy to find where I live. And in here, I've poured a cup of freshly brewed hot coffee. And you just let that set for a couple minutes and it'll melt the chocolate, and you just whisk it together. Then I'm going to add in 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract and a 1/3 cup of vegetable oil. And you're going to whisk that all together, and then we're going to pour it into the dry. Add all that in. You're going to whisk it together. Now, if you're doing like a regular cake, you don't want to over whisk because you don't want to really develop gluten. But when it comes to vegan cakes or dairy-free, egg-free ones, a little bit of mixing is going to hurt. And that would be my dog in the background with a squeaky little pig toy. Lastly, I'm going to add in a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. This is part of the leavening agent, but it also adds a nice tenderness to the crumb of the cake. I've got the oven preheated to 350 degrees. I've got a springform pan that I put just a little bit of the vegetable oil on the bottom and then put the parchment paper on top of that. That's going to keep this from getting soggy underneath. That's why you do the oil before the paper, unless the recipe says otherwise. Then you're going to pour your batter into here. And by the way, I add that vinegar, like the liquids to the dry, and especially the vinegar right at the end because you want all the leaveners to be activated when it gets in the oven. Now that it's in the pan, just give it a little bit of a shake, and that's just going to even it out so it bakes evenly. Now I'm going to put it in the oven. In my oven, it's 28 minutes, no more, no less. So you're gonna have to judge it by your oven, but that's what it is with mine. All right. Oh, look, we magically have a whole cake already. So I think we need to have a slice of it. But what will I be decorating it with this time? Now, what are we gonna put on this? Are we gonna do, we could do cocoa powder. We could do icing sugar dusted on it. You could put a chocolate ganache. You could put my chocolate avocado frosting on it. But no, I'm thinking caramel sauce. You might be going, caramel sauce? Victoria, that has dairy in it. Not always. I happen to have some fine and raw caramel sauce in which they use just 3 ingredients. It's got organic olive oil in it, organic coconut sugar, and organic cocoa butter. So let's see what that looks and tastes like. Ooh, now we're gonna do a nice drizzle of that caramel. Ooh la la. And if you're wondering how this caramel sauce tastes, it's very, it's actually a little bit buttery, even though there's no like dairy or butter in it, but it's very coconut sugar caramel-ish flavor forward. So I think you'll enjoy it. You definitely want to stir it really well. And it's a little bit of a gritty texture compared to a smooth caramel, but once you stir it, it's pretty good. And I've got this all over my piece of chocolate. goodness of cake. Well, I hate to leave you, but I think it's time for me to eat cake, you to go make some cake. Recipes down below. Also, be sure to follow me on Instagram, like and subscribe to my channel. And as October marches on and Halloween approaches, may you have lots of chocolate in your life. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next weekend.